Hey everybody, Ben here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up for yourself each and every day. So if you're here from the short, you already have a backstory. If not, our word was pride. And got into both aspects. There's a good and a bad in everything. It's a great thing to be proud of our accomplishments, what we're working towards, what we've gone through and healed from, what we've worked through. But then we also have the aspect of leading with that need, uh, you know, egotistical pride, always in competition, having to be the best. And with the supporting angel number card, that main word right there, connection. When I was shuffling this earlier for the short, I was going into that. What is that connection? Well, it's connected to some sort of a trauma, a wound of not being accepted, not being good enough. This constant strive of I need to present myself a certain way, to show up a certain way, to be the best, to be viewed that way, to be acknowledged. And if we trace that back to wherever it came from, the real question is, where the fuck did that come from? Who put that in there that I had to show up a certain way, appear a certain way, do a certain thing to receive uh, love, in essence, in the very beginning, but acceptance, to be celebrated, to be viewed valuable. And when we really, maybe we are in a place like that. And I often feel like the harder we try something, the farther it goes away. It's also connected to the need for that external validation, which is human. We all enjoy that. There's nothing wrong with it. But when we're leading with that, we need that because it's not in here. And I often say a lot that when we need something out there, we don't believe it. We need the external to validate that. We need it to prove to us that we are valuable, which puts it all out there. I'm feeling anxiety right now, probably around this, that it's a feeling unsafe, a lot of times when we don't feel safe in here, we need the external to prove to us that we are safe, that we are accepted, that we are valid, however we look at that. When we go into, uh, we can do the competitive aspect and a lot of comparison. If I show up like, look at this person, they're getting so much attention, they're like this, and we see that and we say, well, if I'd be more like that, then I'd be acceptable. We could look at it as in sports. Who's the best? They look at all the attention they get, and if we're going up against that, we're trying to match that attention or surpass it. We have to be viewed in a certain way, and that comes back to this wound. And I don't think I really went into the harder we try, the farther it goes away. Some people are great at certain things. Technically, we're all great at something. And maybe we like something and someone else appears great and we're not as great, or we think we're not as great. And we're trying to get to that point. But what is the connection that we get from that? What is this facade, this acceptance, this celebratorial experience that we think we're going to receive by being in that space? Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with pushing ourselves to a new level or competing. That's not where I'm going. I'm talking about the folks that really are struggling with the aspect of this need for this external something, this celebrate, this validation, this acceptance, this placed on a totem pole to be viewed for all as the best. That's going back to what? Again, who the fuck put that in there in the first place? Who did that? Who put that in there that made you so small that I have to be in this light or appear this way to be valid, to be here, to be okay to take up space, to be seen as worthy? That's all going back to some sort of a wound or a trauma. And when we lead with the need for that external so much to prove that to us, obviously we don't believe it in here. And I often talk about what we believe is our identity. And we're believing we're not good enough unless we show up this way or do this or achieve this. We'll never be good enough. And if it's solely based on how the external accepts it or reciprocates our achievements or what we've done or how we triumph in this situation or that, We still don't believe that. And we're constantly going to be looking out there for this to prove it to us. But it'll never be proven because we don't believe it, because that's our identity. Until we believe something, that I am valuable, I am great, I am whatever it may be, uh, will never fill that void. Ten of Swords, overburdened. Uh, First thing that came to my mind, looking at the original card is it looks like a death. It looks like the end. But releasing this is a death of an old self, an old identity, an old image, constantly trying to receive whatever this is or gain this back from uh, probably our whole life. If we really look at how long, where did that come from, how long it's been in there, and how long we've allowed it to lead our life for this achievement. I'm still feeling anxiety here and there popping up, which is probably scary. That's an old self. The Queen of Wands, charismatic. Uh, Now, when I was talking earlier about, we're all great at something, and sure, like let's pinpoint it to, I'll just use a sport for an example. And if there's someone great in a sport, they're just good. It's just how it is. It's easy for them. They are good at it. And when we are good at something, it just happens. We're not trying, we're not forcing, we're not trying to do things on purpose to get the external to see it and to validate it. I keep trying to hide my hands. Like, I can't be myself up here. Like, I have to put them down here to whatever. When we are just ourselves, it just is. It's just fine. We're carrying that energy, and it really comes down to that place of authenticity. When we're not leading with this need for the external, we are in a place of authenticity. We are ourselves, and we have that identity. We're embodying that I am valid. I am good at this, or great at that, or wonderful, just being myself. I don't need to do anything, appear anyway, to feel accepted, because I already believe that I am, and I know that I am, and that I have value. I don't need the external to prove it. And with that energy, that presence, uh, we would be in that celebratorial experience, because energetically, we're fine. Got two cards here. First one was Five of Wands, clashed interests. This is looking at all of the comparison, the ego in the external, all of those around us, and leading with it to as our guiding force. When we really get into that comparison game, what emotions are we feeling? Envy, jealous, and then how's that connected to these softer worded wounds, if we will? Uh, Self-esteem, confidence, not feeling good enough, not valued, not loved in self. The Wheel of Fortune reversed, temporary delay. We're looking at cycles that, uh, depending on when they came into our experience and we grabbed a hold of them and then identified with them, how long have we been carrying them? Maybe we're at a place that we want to let go. Maybe we started to see and say, what's the point? And when we look at what's the point, it's not giving up on ourselves. It's, what am I doing here anymore? Why am I leading with this? This is a cycle that can be closed. To, whatever achievement we're looking at here. The Knight of Cups reversed. Fickle actions. This always gives me the grabbing shiny things just to, and nothing's really filling a void. We're not sticking with anything. If I'm constantly seeking something in the external for validation, acceptance, whatever, and nothing's taking, I just, oh, that doesn't work. How about this? That doesn't work. How about that? We all have that. We all have a void to some extent, no matter what it's connected to. Here, this void is for this external acceptance, this celebratorial experience to see value in ourselves. And it's probably getting louder to an extent that we're starting to look inward and say, we might be taking I shouldn't say accountability, but looking at ourselves in a negative sense as not valuable. Wow, I really am what I feared. And that's not the case at all. It is unfolding this wound, this deeper seated fear of rejection or not being accepted. And during that transitional period, we're going to start to not look out there for it. We're going to start to look in here and build that foundation. And the end goal is this space. The King of Swords, rational. We're going from arrogant to rational. We are not leading with this need to appear the best, to wear that mask. That is all external. If we're all about the presentation and how the external receives it and views it and returns it to us. And by doing so, we're so dependent on that, which means we're performing every day. We have to appear this way, show up this way, say this, say that, have the best line or, whatever, to appear a certain way because we don't believe it here and we need the external to prove to us what we believe. That's not a very strong foundation inside. We're moving from that space and we're building it on our own through a healing experience, acknowledging where this came from and creating value in ourselves that already is there, but we just have to see it in ourselves to believe it. I'm going to leave this here. If this resonated, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later.